Good morning. Good morning, Grand Rising. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. Welcome to Soulful Solutions. Just checking in. How are you doing this morning? How is everything with you? Did you sleep well? Is something bothering you? Are you going through something at this time? I just want to encourage you today, all the listeners, all of the people that have been having heavy hearts, to let you know it's not over. It's not over, which means sometimes we think everything is falling down around us. And I'm just saying, your happiness is not over. So be encouraged today. We have a wonderful show lined up. We're going to be actually talking about dysfunctional relationships and how it affects children, which is one of those real heavy pet peeves on my heart. When children are affected by violence, by divorces, by family, relationships going haywire, those types of things. So hopefully, keep a pencil and paper handy or just stay tuned. You may learn something that could truly help you. Let me introduce my wonderful co host. There she is. I missed you.
Yes, I missed you too.
Good and rising. Good morning. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Yeah,
Awesome. I think we had our own. We had our dues up today. I
yeah.
know you were. Oh, yes. It was one of those times. It was
Oh
definitely.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is wonderful having you as always. Having you as always. As I said, this topic is really sensitive to my heart because I guess because a lot of the opportunity I have is to talk with families, especially with children of families. And I deal more so with the adolescents from 12 all the way to 17. And I hear so many different stories, Naima, just, how they feel that the world doesn't listen, unfortunately, to the children. It's not like there's a microphone out there say, well, how do you feel about this? It's always, an adult led conversation,
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to go into that this morning. Let me go ahead and put my banners up. Going to put that on there. Okay, put that ticker on there for you. All right. Um, One of those factors that I want to first start off with, because there's so many different outcomes of why these things happen on a regular, is it starts, of course, all of it, every part of it starts in the home. And then it starts even before that. It's definitely something that's passed down in generations through our genealogy, characteristic personalities that people experience from day to day. But to bring it all the way up to a modern day, dilemma is it's just I don't know. It just really makes me wonder, why the adults are involving their children in their domestic violence when the child is actually innocent. Because the only word I can use is hate. There's no other word to use. Just recently there was a murder, and I mean, they've been going. This is so often, but I just this last one just really hit me. In Florida, there was a young lady that was murdered by her baby's father, and she
Oh,
was, stabbed multiple times. And he decided to uh, take his 2-year-old son and, you know, throw him in a river. They wasn't sure if he was deceased or not,
mm,
and they found that baby in the mouth of a crocodile.
Yes, that was one of the hard
That
stories
hit
of
me.
the week. That was
I
just
just cried. It was no other. I mean, I didn't know this family. I didn't know it. It's just it is just overwhelming. And I know you're like, well, why are we talking about this dreadful news? Well, guess what? It's an epidemic, and this is a show I've done before in many different ways. But I just want someone to hear. Is someone out there that's listening that has a family member, that has a friend, that has a friend or a family member that's going through any type of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, arguing, I mean, all the above. We have to start taking it seriously. And I just don't think, Naima, that we're doing that. I don't think it's just like the gun control. There's nothing being done. So I mean, and it's like, okay, well, if there's nothing being done, why am I focusing on it if I can't change it? I guess that would be the question some people will ask. It's because I have a heart,
yes.
I have a conscience, and I just, again, I can't even imagine the loved ones that have to put these two people to rest, considering the
The
circumstances.
trauma of that is just unimaginable. Unimaginable. I mean, anybody who's connected with that family, there's got to be some very deep feelings of distress at the thought of the 2-year-old, whatever they experienced. And then sometimes there's guilt, people feeling like I should have stepped in, I should have done something, I should have seen something, so there's all of that, and just a lifelong feeling of grief and helplessness. But there is there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
There is hope.
There is hope. What we are learning is that we have to raise the standard of human behavior, and it starts at the very beginning. The reason why children get so badly treated is because when someone hates themselves, they look to express it at someone who they perceive as weaker than themselves. That's what a bully does. And a bully is usually someone who feels badly about themselves because they were bullied, they were treated badly, they were made to feel worthless, they have low self-esteem. So they believe if they can beat down someone else, then they will feel better about themselves. So children are natural targets for parents and adults with low self esteem. So we verbally abuse them, we physically abuse them, and they can't fight back. They're children. But then when they grow up, they become those same abusive adults. So it becomes, like they say, a generational curse where it's passed down from parent to child to the next child.
Yes.
And we have to stop it. We have to stop that human trend of abuse. And that means changing the way we define what is acceptable for human behavior. It's not about how much pain and suffering we can give to someone who's given pain and suffering to someone. We must heal the hurt that's inside of them that made them hurt someone.
Hmm.
Changing the standard by demonstrating the standard means our our mode of operation can't be vengeance, because that's what it's been. Oh, you hurt someone, so let's devise a system to hurt people who hurt people. Well, is that working? How many thousand of years have we seen it not work? At this point in our evolution as a human species, we have to become the divine beings that we are. And that means
Amen.
understanding that love is the solution to everything. Love meaning that you understand this person is a reflection of the divine, which is only love, but what you're seeing in them is a response to what has happened to them and distorted who they are. So
Mm-hmm.
our goal is to return people to who they are, that loving divine being that they were at birth before they received the pain that was inflicted upon them in this world. It's a whole
Yes,
different way of thinking. We have to change the way we think about ourselves and others in order to change the way we're treating ourselves and others so we can stop this cycle of pain.
absolutely, absolutely. And to notice the symptomatic orders of when someone is to that point of the breaking point where they no longer become humanized. See, the thing about this is that uh, one would stay in a relationship thinking that the threats of just arguing or uh, profanity or demeaning, any type of self defeat, self sabotage, or self destructive behaviors, or, oh, he's just like that, or she is just that way. No, they're not. One thing I know about a splinter, if you leave it in, remove it, then it gets worse.
Yeah, becomes infected.
It becomes infected. And a lot of these relationships that are, you know, at this point, they're becoming, and it's obvious that they're becoming infected. I truly believe since 2020, and this is something I've been watching, Naima, over the last few years, is I was looking at domestic violence before 2020 within the 5 year radius, and then looking at it transition from 2020 all the way up till now we're in 23. And of course, what I noticed is that 25% jump escalation in family and domestic violence. Now, the question is, was it always there? And I pretty much will agree that it was always there, and it started to become, escalated or inferior. You call in inflamed. Let me say that word, inflamed during that process time of when everything stood still, and that's when things started to look in a different way. And some of these relationships have again, you have so many things that are attached to it. You have mental illness attached to it. You have those areas of infidelity, adulterous affairs attached to it. You have finances, economical poverty attached to it. It's so many different outcomes that, and also factors that would play a role in when a person gets to that point where they then want to take another person's life again, but become less humanized. Because if I can't feel myself, how can I feel you? If
Right,
I can't acknowledge my own life, how can I acknowledge yours? If
right.
I don't value my own, I will not value anything that's
Yeah,
breathing amongst me. I don't care if it's a cat or dog. And this is when I think that that person gets into this arena of fear thinking. Fear thinking then corrodes all of the emotional consciousness, subconscious guilt type of conviction mindset that a person would have, saying, "Oh, if I do this, then what?" So no, it's all spontaneous,
mm,
spontaneous. Now, but it's a spontaneous plan. This is the thing. It's a spontaneous plan. The plan is that I will go and do this and this based upon this and this. Do you see what I'm saying? And none of
mhm.
those things are thought out. None of those things are looked at as threatening or are looked at as a weighing system of integrity or even dignity. So what am I saying? That person loses all sense of control based
Yes.
on a period of time, then becomes very impulsive like a rabid dog.
Mm.
as I always say, walking, breathing landmines.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the symptoms? What is the the symptomatic orders of a person before, like if a person's living with someone and they've been living with this person, or this person could be in their life for some reason, in and out their life. And it could be, like you say, a baby's father, a baby's mother, sister, brother, whatever. So, what is the signs of not just a failed relationship, but one that's dangerous?
Hmm.
No, you ain't just dysfunctional anymore.
You're dangerous.
You
And
dangerous.
yes. And a lot of people, like you say, they think it's just going to continue to be maybe the verbal abuse, maybe even uh, threats of violence, but never any actual act. But that person is a landmine. One day you step on it and it explodes. If someone is verbally abusive, that is the precursor to physical violence. And we ignore the signs, either that or we don't know what to do. And a person, you can get to the point where you alter your own self. You try to be more and more humble, submissive, meek, mild. The more enraged they become, the quieter you become, and you keep thinking that if you just are quiet and comply, then they'll never reach that explosion point. But it's not you that's determining the explosion, it's something happening on the inside of them. So whenever that thing, that ticking time bomb, whenever that explodes, no matter how pliant, soft spoken you may be, they're going to explode and they become violent. And so when I hear, I attended a seminar um, held by some men regarding domestic violence, and their advice was for women to try to be more soft spoken and try not to make their husbands angry. And I thought that was just absolutely outrageous and so non-helpful, because you don't make a person violent. Someone said, "Well, she made me mad," or even if a woman is the abuser, because that happens too. He made me mad. No one makes you mad. You have anger inside of you from something that is unhealed, and that is what's festering. That's what's infected. That's what's growing, and it doesn't matter whatever someone else does. Inside of you is a ticking time bomb. So
Yes,
we can't keep blaming someone who ends up the recipient of someone else's anger, because nothing they did to trigger it, it was already there. The trigger is inside the person.
absolutely. Yes, that's where it is. That is where it is. And again, when we lose our human ability to feel another person's pain, is when everything then becomes non existent.
Yes.
There's an area in the mind gate that becomes numb. And that area is there is no presence. You lose your presence as a human being and you become a human doing. So, and I mean that doing gets into an area of hostility and violence. There's no turning back at that point. I believe there is a gateway in the mind that there is a lever, if I could say it like that. And you like, well, is that lever in everybody's mind? It is. It's that time where you lost it for a moment. It's that time where you became so angry you didn't know what to do. It's that time when you just jumped to a conclusion and didn't think about it and then realize then if you actually came back to yourself, you realize, oh my goodness, that was the wrong thing. Okay, it is called a conviction, right? So in these minds that we're talking about with these individuals who have, you know, who has committed these heinous acts, you know, we have to remember they were once children. They were once people
Yeah.
that were growing up. They were once just normal Well, at some point they were, but then we if you check the history, they may have had sociopathic you know types of behavior, like children that hurt.
Animal.
We notice this in animals.
Yeah.
Like, if a child can hurt an animal, it can hurt a human being. And if it
Yes.
does it with a pleasure, if you see a child, I don't care if it's 5 years old, that's hurting an animal, and the animal is in extreme pain, you
Yeah.
need to definitely
Obvious
pay
distress.
attention to that. Pay
Yes.
attention to that, because something is occurring in the mind of that child. It is not normal. Okay. And so as these individuals grow up into young adults, they start to look at life differently. They are different people. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about this is, they get into relationships, and those relationships, most people don't realize who or what they are. Some people are narcissists, and there's levels of narcissism. Levels of narcissism, and it doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man. Okay. Gender based is not, no, they from mild, moderate, or severe. A severe narcissist can take your life.
Mhm.
They can
Yes.
take your life in some type of way, whether it's emotional. Look, you don't all, sometimes they like to taunt and torture. I mean, with words and actions.
Yeah. They're enjoying your pain. Yes.
And you really need to ask yourself, if there's anyone, if there's a listener, if there's somebody that knows somebody, let me say this again, that may be in this area of your life where you're like, oh, I know my next door neighbor, oh, I know my niece, I know somebody knows somebody that has been affected
Yes.
by actions of another human being. And it may look like it's just a petty argument over and over again. Oh, they always argue.
Mm.
Oh, that's normal for them. They're always arguing. They always going back and forth. I hear the next door neighbors all the time, until one day you don't hear nothing, or hear a gunshot 2 or 3 times, or you just hear your next door neighbor, here comes the police, right? And you say, well, what can I do? That's not my business.
Mm.
That's not my concern. I can't tell these people what to do or how to live. And this is true. You cannot. But the thing about this is, if you could, would you?
Yes. And
You
sometimes
know,
there's fear, fear that if you try to intervene, then you become the target of whatever violence they were perpetrating at each other. That's the issue that a lot of police have when they respond to a domestic violence call. They go to interrupt a conflict between two people, and then somehow they end up being the target of the violence. And so it's difficult for them to decide how to intervene sometimes, even though it's supposed to be their job to keep people safe. But when people are hostile and police step in to try to stop the hostility, and then suddenly that same couple is turning on them, then how do you determine how to even help? Because the problem is, it's a psychological, emotional problem that the people have, and police aren't trained to deal with that. They're trained to stop violence, but if the foundation is mental illness, emotional distress, whatever creates that time bomb that explodes, it's something that required a whole lot more counseling and intervention way before it got to the point of violence. But like you say, neighbors hear the arguing, what do I do? What do I say? Who do I call? We have to have other avenues of helping people other than police before it gets to the point of violence, because what people really need is therapeutic intervention. They need counseling
Right.
intervention before they get to that point. But do we have the resource? Do we have the systems set up to send someone or even request that they go somewhere because they're arguing all the time? Because we've normalized arguing. Oh, they're arguing all the time. They must be married. So we're actually
Yeah.
believing that a normal sign of marriage or a relationship is that you must have intense arguments, intense conflict. And
Exactly. Yeah.
since we think it's normal, we don't think that should be something that is helped, so that the relationship is not spurts of hostility that eventually become violent.
Absolutely. And again, the state, the government know that this is domestic violence is one of those things where you have cohorts out there in the community that offers, some type of resource for the families and victims of domestic violence. But guess what? It's always after the fact.
Right.
It's nothing precautionary.
Right.
Um, and I mean, I think we as a whole, in just the United States, because of the level of intensity that the violent murders are more in the family than out the family.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're noticing. And
Yeah.
that is becoming, again, an issue that has been festered. The Also, the other thing I want to mention is the Department of Family and Children Welfare, or the organization that the states have in place. You know, they will take a child if a child is neglected. But the thing about it is they won't protect the child that's in domestic violence.
Wow. Wow.
Now I find this, and I did a little research, so I'm not just talking to be talking. I find this just unpleasing, totally unpleasing.
But
Where
it's acceptable.
individuals will actually go set protective orders, have called in to the police for domestic violence disputes over and over
Mm-hmm.
again, and all of these things. You have a large number of them end up in violence, if not fatal. They are either someone that's been hospitalized or someone's dead.
Mm.
Even with a protective order, I know I looked at the ones that had a protective order, and there's
Yeah. I mean, how
so
many
what do
people
we
have been
t-
killed with an order of protection against the person who killed them? Yeah, all the time.
yeah. So we see this is why this topic is such a powerful topic that really needs to be taken very seriously, because again, if you're looking for outside resources, there aren't any. The
Yes.
only resource is you. So you know there has to be some precautionary measures, and those precautionary measures, I would say to anyone who is in any type of ongoing dysfunctional relationship, please pay attention. You need to definitely pay attention. I know we have to go for break, so I'm gonna wait to give those tips when we come back from break. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Facebook as well as YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel so that we can do this even more. And we'll be
Absolutely.
right back.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solutions Global Radio TV show. We are a part of the online network of associated internet radio hosts, On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platform to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we'll see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. On Air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to onaireverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time. I'm Fiata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata. Do you worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down to earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul. Whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type diabetes, publish your book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com.
Oh man, God sent the monthly sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark. Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our homes? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Wouldn't you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456, and schedule a free consultation. That's 312-849-3456. want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bring world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
All right. Good morning, Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Solution. And our topic today, for those who are just joining us, is the effects of dysfunctional relationships on our children, the family division outcomes. And of course, we know, again, as I said earlier in the show, that the domestic and family violence has actually increased and escalated to heinous proportions, 25%. And that's a large amount. That's too long. That's too wide. That's too much. too much violence in our homes, because that's where the violence is. And that violence transitions to the homes, to the workplace, to the stores, I mean, it goes on and on, So right before we took a break, I wanted to go into some preventive measures I want to first start with the actual acknowledging the areas of behaviors when it comes to self-defeat. Self-defeat is actually a behavior or action that can actually come with words, gestures, any type of actions towards oneself as towards someone else. So, like things like you're never amount to anything, you're not worth anything, and that's just a nice way of saying it. You're always a failure. You're stupid. You're this. You're that. As these words are often said to ourselves, they break down our human part of our mind as well as our character. So experiencing those things and hearing someone tell you that you're not worthy, that you're worthless in some type of way, when we tell another person that, especially if that person is already a fear-thinking person. Okay, let me give you a definition of a fear-thinking person. A person that's impulsive, a person that's always nervous, always angry, that gets tipped off, has a short temper, has areas of lose control, okay, gets angry, mad very easily, irritated, agitated, frustrated, constantly feeling like someone's attacking them, victim mentality, a slave mindset, where you're always doing this to me. I can't break free of you. Okay, I gave you a whole lot. So if you're living with a person like that, and this seems like no matter what you do, you can't seem to get this person to understand that you are not an idle threat, that's a big red flag. Now, if you are the person that actually is saying that to those individuals and thinking that, oh, that's who they are, or you are putting them into a position where you constantly want to downgrade them and think that one day they're not going to go into another type of mindset. Be careful how you tread. Just because you've been living with them for years and years, that doesn't mean that a mind cannot go into straight psychotic episode.
Mm. Wow.
Some people can't take the pressure, and you won't know when the dam breaks until it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
It will give you telltale signs. Again, frustration, easily irritated, waking up angry for no reason, extremely moody,
Mm.
extremely moody. I ain't talking about just, oh, just a little small, brush offs. No, I'm waking up angry. I'm barking at you, barking, not talking to you anymore.
Mm.
Nothing is really happening, but you just think, oh, that's just the way they are. And then one day you happen to do something or say something to this person because you're like, oh, I'm tired of you arguing at me. You so and so and so and so, not knowing that that person was at their breaking point.
Yes.
And they pick up a knife or gun and take your life.
Ooh.
Be careful how you allow things to keep going in your life, thinking that you have control. Because see, the minute people think they have control, they have none at all. And you won't know it until it strikes. It's a deadly viper. I am absolutely positive. I don't have to be in the homes. Somebody's gotten threatened more than once,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they didn't take those threats seriously.
Right. Right.
They did not take them seriously. So then one day they got the threat, but they actually got the action too.
Yes.
So the state, the government, the community, some even your family members might say, you got to be careful of him. You know, y'all arguing and going back and forth around the kids, even the children, even though when things are out of control. But then again, they stay involved with each other. Some people even again try to run away from it. They try. But again, they've been involved into it too long.
Some
Too
people
long.
ignore the signs in the beginning, and there's always signs.
Oh yeah.
But if you've grown up in a household where there was domestic violence, then behavior like that is normal for you. And someone always having a temper tantrum, someone always exploding at you, verbally abusing you, putting you down. If this is how you grew up, then you don't know that this is not the way people should be treated. And that's why people tend to end up in domestic violence relationships who come from domestically violent homes, because for them that is the norm. So you seek out what is familiar even though it's dysfunctional. And the first time someone hits you, well, if you grew up being hit, then you don't know that you should not be hit because that was the norm. And this is why we have to have a different standard of acceptable human behavior rather than accept unacceptable behavior as normal and then have people living their lives tolerating abuse because they believe that that's just the way things are. And we can change that, but we have to change first our belief about it, that it's normal.
Absolutely. And before you even get into the relationship itself, you really need to Google the person. I know that
These
may
days,
sound, but that may sound like, well, what do you mean Google them? I mean, Google them. You need to find out if they had any other, incidents against in domestic violence, any type of, arrest,
yeah.
deal, because we link this with drug activity, um, criminality, you know, I mean, just I'm so serious. You need to
Yeah.
Google this person.
You know, it's
These people meet these people, but they don't Google them. You
right.
don't Google. You don't
Information.
do a background check. I mean, if you don't know who, just because They may act all suave, everything may be cool and calm. They coming in your life, they doing this, they doing that, but then you start seeing that this person don't seem to be very healthy minded.
Hey,
Because that's what's going on. They're not healthy minded.
yeah. I mean, Google is the free background check. And it's funny
It
you
is.
mentioned it because we were on a earlier show this weekend talking about how people who have records, sometimes you, even if your record is expunged, Google still has all the information, your
Oh,
records, time you served. And even though you don't want to judge a person from the past, sometimes you need to be made aware. All the time you need to be made aware so that you can at least have a conversation about it. Give them an opportunity to say, well, that's not who I am now, but I did do that. There was a time in my life when I was under the influence of drugs. I was very violent. I mean, come clean. If this is going to be an intimate relationship, you need to know what that person has in their past. And it doesn't mean that they're that same person, but you need to know what signs to look for. Because if
exactly.
they did time or they were arrested for domestic violence, and then, first argument, they want to threaten to punch you in the mouth if you don't shut up. That might be time to leave. Because, oh, okay, so you're still
Okay.
that person. Because that's still
Yeah.
how you handle disagreements. No. I mean, really, you can't keep thinking, well, I'll just love it out of them. No, you won't. That's who they are. That's what's in them. Until they fix it, until they get the help, the counseling, the therapy, whatever it takes to evolve out of that thinking, that mindset, that behavior, it's gonna keep coming up. So yes, Google is your friend when you need to do a background check, and you need to understand what this person has done already to other people, because you don't want to be a victim. You don't want to be someone who experiences violence. And I don't
Mhm.
say hold over a person's head everything they've done in the past, but if you've been that person, you need to get some help, get some therapy, get some counseling, understand the origins of your pain, your hurt, your suffering, whatever it is. Were you beaten as a child? Were you neglected as a child? Did someone break your heart? Whatever happened that made you do what you did, you got to face it so you can erase it and replace it, as my friend Mark says. This is not behavior that you need to inflict on the next person, or just think, well, I just need to find somebody that's a little more submissive or a little more mild mannered. No, because whatever's inside of you is going to still come up no matter what they do. It's not them, it's you. Take
Mhm.
responsibility for transforming yourself, and then put some positive things about yourself on Google. If you worry about what's not fair, people should be able to research me. Yeah, because sometimes it's a matter of life and death that they know that you have a ticking time bomb inside of you.
Exactly. Exactly. And it actually it helps you to understand the person's character, to take seriously whether you want to be a part of their life or not. I
Yes.
mean, again, you make your own decisions, but get as much information that you can. And it doesn't matter who introduces you to that person. It doesn't matter how you meet them, because
Mhm.
hey, from the richest down to the poorest to the man standing on the corner hustling drugs, people are dysfunctional.
Yes.
So it's not about respect of persons, because sometimes we say, oh, well, they ain't ghetto, you know. Ghetto people have those issues. Nope, we can see that is not the case.
It doesn't matter
It's
how
a
much.
widespread. It's a
Yes.
widespread.
They can have the best designer suit on, and the best looking clothes, and spend all kind of money on their car. It doesn't matter. It's still inside the person. You mentioned the thing about doesn't matter who introduced you to that person. That's also something to think about, because all of us, we like to match up our friends, our single friends. We think, oh, this would be a great person for you. Well, you know what? If you really care about somebody, you should Google that person that you're trying to match up with.
Okay.
So, because your credibility is what they're going on. And if there's something not right about that, you need to know and make a decision do I really want to subject my friend that I care about to somebody who could harm them? And again, I'm not saying that everything in your past should follow you forever. But if you have been that person in the past that hurt people, it is your responsibility to heal that, to fix that, to cure that, to remove that in yourself before you inflict it on somebody else. We were talking about that on our Three Black Moms show this past Sunday because we had, a person on who's head of an ex-con organization. And, he talked about how Google will still follow you around, but everybody's trying to keep themselves safe from everybody. That's the biggest thing. People talk about public safety. How do I protect myself from that person who might just flip out and shoot up everybody? And everybody's on edge because nobody knows who the person is that might be the time bomb that suddenly explodes, walks into a grocery store, walks into a school, walks into a church and just kills everybody. So people are living on the edge because they don't know who you are, what's inside of you. And we can't have a society like that. We can't live in constant fear. So everybody is responsible for fixing what's broken inside of them. I look at that, the most recent school shooting, again, which triggers all the fears like, how do we protect our children? Well, let's see. Maybe we should search every child before they come in the school. Maybe we should, we got metal detectors. Maybe have armed guards. I mean, we're doing all these crazy things to guard ourselves against violence instead of fixing what's broken inside the violent person. That is the answer. Not to live in this extreme militarized state where everybody's treated like a criminal that might kill everybody. That is not the solution. We're supposed to be able to live in free and in joy and in peace. But if there are people inside themselves that are so hurt by whatever happened to them in life that they may explode it's always going to first be the person closest to them, spouses, children, neighbors, friends, and then the general society. We got to fix what's broken inside the people. That's what our society has to be about. Fix what's broken. That will bring peace.
Absolutely. And that word FIX, well, I tell you that I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, domestic violence has been one of those things, and the way it is hostile at this point, as again attacking the children to the highest level, and the most profound thing is, we'll take the school shooter, the recent one, like you said, because that's a whole nother topic in itself. So I looked at him and I also looked at his parents, and all of them looked the same to me, scared. In their eyes, it's nothing but fear. Nothing but fear. So, apparently this young man came out of a household of fear, fear-based thinking, drug activity, I'm sure self-destructive measures and, lifestyles and things of this nature. And as we produce this fear-based thinking, so, it goes on and on and on. So we experience this from the lowest to the highest levels. Again, it is the only thing that is the reasonable thing to do is the precautionary measures. Stay watchful, even if you are doing online dating as well. Online dating, Google these people before you allow yourself to take them seriously, wanting them to definitely come in your home or any area, going anywhere with them. Google them, because there are really some very sick people in the world that have not been treated. I mean, mentally, that's not been treated. Mental illness and criminality is such an enmeshed, population. We don't know which is which now. No one knows the difference. They like the young man we were talking about earlier that killed his child and stabbed the mother. The
Yeah,
first thing they want to do, they want to have him psychologically evaluated. But we know he has a mental illness. We know it that energy that's in him is definitely of extremely negative energy. You
yes,
know, negative energy that's on that young man's mind, and he's not even 35. And I'm sure he's been that way and untreated. You know, untreated. I see that in adolescents from time to time, even as early as 12 years old. Like I said, the signs are there, y'all. We just have to pay attention.
right.
We
And
just
I,
got to pay attention.
and I think that when we normalize certain kinds of behavior, then we don't see it. And I'm not saying that people should never display anger or
No,
frustration,
that's normal to be
but
angry, but to stay angry
and
all the
that's the
time,
thing.
that's the problem.
We don't know when the line is crossed. When it looks like mental illness, when it looks like the person has somehow gotten to the point where they could become violently angry, when anger turns to rage, in which you literally are out of your mind. People aren't able to figure out when normal annoyance becomes anger, and then the anger becomes rage, and then the rage becomes violent. People don't know the signs. And if they have been around angry people their whole lives, if that is how their parents function, if that's how their teachers function, I mean, look at all the different uh, many schools that some still, use corporal punishment, and you got some people saying we need to bring that back. So when people don't recognize violent behavior as an aberration of what a human being should be, they don't know when someone has crossed the line and is dangerous, because we live in a state of fear all the time. Fear-based parenting,
Right.
always afraid you're going to get beaten. So that becomes a conditioning of your mind to accept being abused. And so you don't have a gauge to tell you when someone's behavior is abnormal and dangerous. And
Right.
that's one of the major things I think that we must change as a culture, as a society, as a human family, if we're going to end this escalation of violence so that now everybody's living in fear. So
Mm-hmm.
I know we got to take another break, but
Yep.
maybe we can talk about that when we come back, and how to stop conditioning people to accept abuse by
Right.
the way
Yeah.
our institutions have normalized that behavior. So, well, we'll be right back. If you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325, and press 1 when you're ready to speak. If you're on our switchboard now, press 1. If you have something to say, if you have a question or comment for Dr. Debbie, and Dr. Debbie's very serious, don't come with a discussion that ain't about what we talking about. Close your mic. I'm just telling you right now. We love you. So we'll be right back after this quick break. So stay with us.
What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self self-care from Susan Essentials on the Female Solutions Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and yourself feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jody Susan. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today. Hi, I'm Mama Joy. And I'm Reverend Rosemary. Join us every second Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time, here on the Female Solutions Global Radio TV show for Neighborship of Joy. We will have powerful conversations inviting women to walk in the light. So call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak to the host. You can also join us live on the Female Solutions Facebook page and YouTube channel. We'll see you on the second Saturday on the Neighborship of Joy. We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. And again, for those who are just joining us, we are talking about the effects of dysfunctional relationships on our children today and all those factors and outcomes that are surrounding these areas. As we know, again, domestic and family violence is on the rise. And it's constantly escalating even now. Someone somewhere is going through something very close to this topic. The thing about this is, could it be prevented? Could it be stopped? Could we have saved a life of some proportion? I also want to kind of, really hone in on how families look at the domestic violence within the families. Like, families such as, aunts and uncles, sisters and brothers, knowing that this person is in a very unhealthy relationship and may have told them, or may say, oh, it ain't none of my business, or whatever the case may be, have said to them, oh, you need to get rid of that guy, or you need to get away from that girl, or whatever the case may be. But it still didn't work, So,
I don't know if you want to take a call.
Sure. Yes. Let me definitely do that before I go into that topic. Thank you.
Okay. Area code 773-977. Please introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green.
Well, good morning and glory be to God for everyone. This is Lois here in Chicago, Illinois, in the South Shore area. And it sure is good to be alive today. And I just thank God for everyone who's listening to this wonderful topic. And Dr. Debbie Green, if you ever earned your money, I think you should have a bucket somewhere when you finish this show. Anyway.
Yes, I received that.
She has a husband. She's been married to this husband for 37 years. They have a 25-year-old daughter who's 25 years old, had a baby 5 years ago, and the daughter refuses to tell the mother the truth about the baby's daddy. The baby is 5 years old, and so the daughter has been beating on the mother and calling her all kind of fat, this and that. And she's a police officer, so she's calling the police on her mother. So she choked me. She choked me. I can't breathe. You know, the police has been to her house twice. And with her job, and the husband, who was a former police officer, he knows, what's going on. So she believes that he's telling this young girl, But anyway, she's in this bathroom as we speak. Not only that, the young girl brought a dog in. She's been taking care of the 5-year-old baby, and she brought the dog in, and she refused to. Anyway, they were all put out by the police, I think, about 2 nights ago. But anyway, that's a situation. You're talking about problems in the family, dysfunctional families. It seems like just about every family has a problem. I know we have some in my family, but so Dr. Debbie, this is the day. Thank you so much for this time, and God bless you all. Love you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
well, I got a quick question before you go, Lois, regarding this person. Now, you say that the daughter, who's 25, has a 5-year-old child. And is it the daughter that's abusive to the mother, or the mother that's abusive to the daughter, the 25-year-old daughter who's the mother? And which one was doing the choking? That's what I missed.
The mother.
It's really the 25-year-old daughter has called the police department, and as you know, they cannot take any domestic complaints against them. They can lose their job. So she's called and said that her mother, the police officer, had choked her and she couldn't breathe.
So her mother's a police officer?
Then she called again. So she made 2 reports on her mother. She's under investigation as we speak about what her daughter is doing. And they told her that they had to go downtown to put her out because, she wasn't paying rent or whatever either. But she decided, when she's told her about losing her job, she said she decided to make what the lies they told too. She was getting out of her house. If she's going to make her lose her job. And this is the second time it's happened. So she's in a dilemma. And I'm talking about a Christian woman who's been, trusting in God for 5-6 years and calling me names and calling your mother names. And then the father, she put her out before when she called the police on the first time. And the father lets her back in. So then she comes back, and every time she comes back, it gets worse. Then she comes back and brings the dog with her as the baby. And it's really a sad situation because the city of Chicago is going to probably fire her when she's done nothing but taking care of this child. She told her, she said, this is not her town. And so she told the father, she said, unless you're the father of the baby, you need to shut up. And she said, you're taking care of, taking up for long enough, and you're probably the one telling her what to do to get me off my job. She said, so she's going to get out of here, you're going to get out of here too, or the lies that you all told. She said, it's going to come true. She said, I'm going to go get my gun.
So now, which one is the police officer? The mother or the daughter? Which one is
the mother? The mother is the police officer. That was assaulting. That the daughter accused her of choking her, and she's a police officer. So you can lose your job being in a domestic violence dispute.
I see.
Yeah, that's what's happening. But see, the dysfunctional part of this relationship is the repetition. See, when you know that you cannot get along with a family member, it doesn't matter if they're your child, your aunt, your uncle, your sister, your brother, if it is putting you in a position of violence and you can't control yourself, you know what I'm saying? When this person comes into your face, if they're running up into your face or they're saying something and you feel that it's so to the point where you have to put hands on someone, okay, that means you lost control. 1, 2, that means you got the wrong person. You're around and you're living with the wrong person that is putting you at harm's way. Because if you don't have any self-control, being a police officer. Now, if she was inflicting harm on her, because I don't know the whole story, but just from what you tell me, Lois, it's like she said, someone's choking me. So if she got in the boat first and called, because that's what it sounds like, the daughter called first.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? See, what the mom should have done is call the police to remove the daughter. You see what I'm saying? Before she even touched her. See, they don't touch. See, one thing, police, they don't come in here and deal with domestic disputes unless they become violent. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So there's like, oh, yeah, y'all need to talk it out. One of y'all need to leave. That's all they're going to say. And nobody's going to
Right.
take anyone from the home unless you put hands on somebody. Now you got to, you done caught a case, as they say.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that pushed her, which is the mom, to the point of no control. And the
No,
question,
excuse me, excuse me, but about a week ago, she told me that the, the girl she kicked her. She just had surgery on her left knee, and she's on disability. She's a disabled police officer, and the girl tripped her, and she said that her husband, who was a former police officer, came in and saw them on the floor. She had them on the floor, and he just kept walking by. That was over a week ago.
Sound like they fight so much, he just, just, oh well, there they go again, and decided not to intervene. Which happens, if fighting becomes a normal way that you interact, eventually family members choose to ignore it because that's the way you interact.
now she should not have been allowed back in the home, to be honest with you. And if the husband is allowing her back in home, then somebody has to leave. Somebody has to leave. And maybe that the mother at that point had to go through the family courts, the civil courts, and actually present it to the court system. You know what I'm saying? And letting them know, I no longer want this person in my home. And let the husband know, if this is something you want, then maybe you need and her need to go get a place to live. How about that?
Yeah, because it
See,
sounds
this is when this is when it gets ugly. It gets
yeah,
ugly because it's allowed to fester. It's allowed to keep going on over and over and over again until someone picks up a knife, a gun. Here we go again to the same
right,
old stories.
right.
See, all that shouldn't have happened. None of that shouldn't have happened. These are grown people. And just again, like you said, they're God-fearing people. Okay, well, what happened? What happened to the rationale? What happened to the logic? What happened to the reasoning?
It's some anger, some deep anger in that
You see
family.
what I'm saying?
I'll get it in.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
sounds like
it's sad. It's really sad that got to that level because guess what? I'm gonna go ahead and take it a little deeper. When that child was a child, there's a reason why she is the way she is.
yes.
You see what I'm saying? This may or may be something you may or may not know. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That if she feels that she could do that to or scream and yell at her mother, or her mother has been accustomed to using some type of hostile or violent or reprimand with her since she was a child, and you know I mean, I mean, all does appear to be one way is not that way. You have to look at it from, and look a little more deeper into it. Say, why does she feel she could do this? Why does she feel that they're too comfortable with each other doing the things they do? So it
Yeah.
had to have been some repetition of that in this young lady. She's 25 years old. There's a good chance during her adolescent years, this has been a situation. I
Yeah.
guarantee you.
That's
I
what
guarantee you it's been a situation where it never was, let's talk it out. Let me beat you first and then tell you what to do if you did it. You see what I'm saying? So now she has gotten to this point where the 25-year-old, the daughter, she's gotten this point, I don't even respect you anymore. I've
yeah,
lost respect for you.
yeah, that's what
And
that
the husband has probably been the onlooker and watcher of all these things.
yeah.
So now he's conditioned to whatever he sees. That's why he just steps over and keeps moving.
Yeah.
But then look
You
at
won't
the
move
issue
like
behind it.
nowhere.
She loses her job. You know what I'm saying? Now the dysfunctional relationship is still dysfunctional.
Right.
And guess what else is involved? A child.
Yes.
Don't you think the child is watching how mother is treating daughter and daughter is treating mother? You see what I'm saying? So what is it? Well, how is it affecting the child? Will she then take some of those traits mentally and emotionally with her? Absolutely. Again, no one's thinking about the children.
Right. Right.
That's where it starts.
That's where it
It
starts.
starts.
And what I see in the trend of a lot of elder abuse, it started out as child abuse. And I always, whenever I see a young mother screaming at a child or hitting a child, I always say, one day the roles are going to be reversed and they're going to be taking care of you. So what you do to them today, they will be doing to you tomorrow. And sometimes it's hard to hear, but we have to have better parenting skills than what we're being taught. If you start out abusing a child, when they get old enough or they're no longer afraid of you, they're bigger than you, they're stronger than you, then they will return whatever you did to them as a child. We normalize beating children because we don't know a better way of raising them, of guiding them, of rearing them, as Dr. Debbie said, you raise corn, right? So we don't know a better way of rearing our children in a peaceful, loving manner because we're thinking we need to beat them into submission. Well, what happens when that 5-year-old is 25 and you're 55 and they're bigger than you and stronger than you? They're going to give you back what you gave them. And so now you have two grown people fighting.
Yes.
And the third party who's watching, the husband, well, this is their relationship. However it evolved and wherever it evolved like this. They can't fix it. They can't stop it. The two of them have that anger and hostility for wherever it came from. But like Dr. Debbie said, it didn't just start yesterday. It started back in childhood. And there's some unresolved anger that has now turned to rage, that is now becoming deadly. Because when you put your hands over somebody's throat, that's to choke them to death.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when now and again, if this continues to persist,
yeah,
that
you're
is
gonna
not
see
healthy.
you're gonna see a tragedy. And again, and this has been an issue here in Chicago. We just had a mayoral election. And the issue has been when people are in a state of conflict in these domestic violence situations and police are called, the only weapon a police officer has is a gun or a taser at best. But the problem that this family has is of a psychological, a social, an emotional, a spiritual issue,
right?
That involves other kinds of help. The result of all of these problems is the violence, and then you call the police to deal with the violence, but the problem is what caused the violence, and that's what has to be addressed.
Yeah.
So we need agencies, we need other kinds of social workers,
resources.
Yeah, the resources. The police, that's the last resort, and usually by the time they get involved, it's too late. There's been an act of violence committed. Somebody might even be dead, and then it's definitely too late by then. So, my heart goes out to this family, but they should have gotten counseling a long time ago. But most people who need help
get it. Counseling. Excuse me, but they had counseling several times. She's gone to counseling many times, but the husband didn't go. I understand that.
Yeah.
But they had counseling. I really thought, the counseling for years. I mean, and she did everything you could. She's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And you wouldn't believe it. And really, I've been knowing that person since she's about 12 years old. And educated person, and she's been with the police for years. And she's just a doll. And singing like a bird. But anyway, Dr. Good and Dr. Debbie Green, I will have to send a donation for this consultation. I know everything is free, but God said that we're supposed to give you something today. I know you might not know that, but I believe y'all should send her a donation. You should let us know where. And go ahead and finish talking about this because, God those things out. I know she's been praying, going to counselors, and Here's Dr. Debbie Green. Come on, Dr. Debbie Green.
Thank
Can
you,
I
Lois.
say something to you? Thank you so much for that, and I would definitely receive it with a big heart, and and I would definitely send you the information. But I want to ask a quick question with counseling. Now you have surface counselors, and you have people like me. Okay, so surface counselor, it doesn't matter how many letters they got behind their name, all right? But
Mhm.
surface counselors, which is you have to look at the root cause of any dispute. And the root cause comes with examination. You examine a person three different ways. You examine their minds, their hearts, and their spirits, consider themselves, and also considering the issue. Because there's always something, a precursor to something before it even happens. So they might have just been talking on the level of the now, which means that, oh, I'm just talking, going back and forth with you now, and these are the issues I have with you now. But what about back then? What about, before, again, before the child was born?
Mm.
Let's go a little further, because that's what I'm picking up in the spirit, that this is an issue that has been ongoing, based upon these, again, we're talking about generational curses. People really don't understand. Okay, you are emotionally moved to speak harshly to your mother. Your mother is emotionally moved to react the same way. Okay, so what is being done? Nothing. It's just going to stay festered, because
Yeah.
two, wrongs don't make it right, as the old books say, right? But if you got two ends that, walk with me here, you got two ends that are inflamed, you know what I'm saying? And two fires there. None, you got to put one out before you can put the other one out. But if you got two fires are inflamed and they come together, they're going to cause a what? Combustion. Okay, so we know this. So we got to find out where the fire is coming from out of these
Right.
individuals. That's the only way you're going to put the damper on, and you do it one by one. You don't put them together and do it. You got to first find out, okay, what is it deep down inside you that you hold? What is it that has not been forgiven? What has not been settled in you concerning yourself? One, what has not been settling concerning this human being that you find yourself coming in conflict with? Two, you see
Yes.
what I'm saying? Those areas have to be acknowledged first before you bring these two human beings back together again. I mean, and that when they understand their own being, when they understand what they're doing and what their actions are actually, bringing to their own reality, then that's when things start to change. I deal with family, conflicts all the time from whatever reason. It could be a loss of a loved one. It could be, financial stress. It could be because so many different factors. It's factors that cause a person to be in a conflict with another human being. It's not just because you said this to me and I said that. No, it's underlining factors that no one is paying attention,
Yeah.
because it's deep. It's a root there. Those roots are going to stay in place if they're not plucked out, if they're not exterminated.
Right.
This the problem. The issue is to destroy the conflict by outing the fires.
Yeah.
So if they want help, if they want to really do some greater work, it will take work. Because Dr. Dev, I tell you straight up, no, we don't deal with victims. I
Mm.
don't deal with a victim mentality. If somebody, oh, they did this to me, are you a victim? If you stay in a victim mentality, you'll never come out. You'll always think somebody's attacking you.
Right.
You'll always think you are getting something that somebody wants to give to you. It's not about what someone's saying, doing. It's about what you are feeling about what they're saying or doing.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So maybe that sounds like they have not been getting that type of counseling. They just been talking surface, to be honest with you, Lois.
Yes.
upon talking to her, I learned that when she was 5 years old, she went to school and someone dropped her off or something, and the school had closed, and this man came up to her, and she was knocking on the door, but no one could let her in. This man came up, he seemed to be very nice at first, and he said, well, let me go to take you to the bathroom. And when he took her to the bathroom, he punched her in the face, and he beat her, and he raped her, and when she was 5. And to me, that would not cause her daughter and her husband to, retaliate on her. It could have been something happened to her, but she shared all of this with the counselor. They've been to counselors like you and me. And if she's going to do anything, I mean, if it's from her past, but could it be from their past?
Absolutely.
You know what I would say that this
Absolutely.
sounds like anger that she's carrying, that perhaps her parents did not protect her, did not ensure.
It's trauma.
And she's traumatized, and maybe she is holding anger or blame at her mother because that happened, and apparently the trauma has been inside of her all this time. If she
It's trauma. Yeah, I knew it was something else. It had to have been something else, because normally, okay, if you constantly keep conflicting, something you holding inside. See, trauma is one of the things that affects our whole entire body down to the cellular structure. So anytime there's a raised voice, it triggers a smell. It can trigger a sight, a sound, a touch. It can trigger, and that person immediately goes into defensive mode, with or without their conscious understanding of it. Now, if she hasn't had any type of treatment for trauma, other than talk therapy, Lois, there's other types of treatment for trauma. You see what I'm saying? Then those senses are still heightened, which we go into what they call post-traumatic stress syndrome. That means whenever somebody just screams at her, or just elevating a voice, she immediately goes into that protective mode. And she starts to yell and scream, not realizing, oh, this was just a casual conversation or disagreement. You see what I'm saying? But if she is still, again, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, not settled about that situation that happened to her when she was a child, because most people are traumatized anytime there's hidden aggression. Hidden aggression, you don't know it's hidden aggression until the senses is totally inflamed, and now you're dealing with a person that is, again, responsive, either angry, and they can't control themselves, and they go into these other spouts of over, how can I explain, over the top behavior. You see what I'm saying? So, okay, the mom, like in this case, you screaming and yelling at me, you screaming in obscenity. So the only thing I know what to do is to put hands on you, because I've been doing that for so long, not realizing that me putting my hands on you just is reminding you of when you were violated.
Yes.
That's an issue. That's a major red flag.
Yes.
Major red flag. Mom, well, being that the therapist should have told her that, because the therapist was a thorough therapist, counselor, whatever, would have did some background history, all right, and realized that trauma is a lead cause to hidden aggression and anger.
Yes.
Because unforgiveness is in that, resentment is in that, discord is in that, confusement is in that, emotional irregulation is a part of all of that. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I don't know if that family still has issues, Lois, but please mention this to her, that she needs to seek help, because it's not going to get any better.
Yes.
If it's not handled, if it's not settled in some type of way.
She really she's completed so many counseling courses. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, why did you go with her in the first place? If she didn't want to go, why would you go? You know, after you didn't find the father, after you paid for 4 DNA different daddies, and she still took, and she told her it's none of her business who the daddy is. I know who the daddy is. It's none of your business. I even heard her say that. So she told her, well, that's not even her business in my house.
She is torn. That 25-year-old is torn to the point where anger turns. Let me tell you something about anger. Anger is the strongest emotion in our body, in our soul.
Mm.
It overcomes guilt, shame, all of those other regrets, resentment. But anger is the one that turns us toxic. When that anger is in there and it's unforgiveness is on top of it, you see what I'm saying? It turns into rage. It literally changes our whole DNA. That's why we must understand that we feel it, release it, and we let it go. When we, and even the Bible tells us, do not let the sun go down on your anger, because the Father knew. He knew that that thing is a whole nother. It's a whole nother emotion that takes on a whole nother mindset. You go into rage.
Yeah.
When you go into rage, you go into self-destruction.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, you'll end up taking someone's life if you're not careful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly. And the best thing I think is just to part. You're going to find evil doers all over the world, but I can imagine how it hurts to have, and a lot of parents can say, well, we've had certain problems with our children, what have you. But when you know that your mother's taking care of you, your baby, and your dog, and you have attempted to get her fired off her job, you know the method to do it. If that's anger, then I think she'd rather probably see her dead.
Yeah, that family has some deep trauma, and sometimes talk therapy, like you said, Dr. Debbie, talk therapy is not always sufficient, and even the kind of counselor that you go, and the counselor's like any other kind of profession, some are suitable to what you need and some are not. I mean, if you're going to counseling and the problem isn't getting any better, there's nothing that is, there's no progress being made in the healing of that relationship, then maybe another counselor is needed, or maybe another element is needed in their counseling sessions. I mean, you can talk about what happened and you can expose the fact that you've been traumatized. Now, what do you do with that information? Now, what do you do with the fact that over the years, this anger, this rage, this blame has festered, and now you've got this dysfunctional relationship between a mother and a daughter, and then you got a grandchild involved now who's watching this toxic relationship between parent and child, and then you have a husband, a person watching who is not actively helping to work out a situation. When there's family counseling, that means the whole family, because everybody's involved. It's not like, oh, was that
exactly?
No, everybody's contributing to the situation as it is. So if everybody does not participate, then there's always going to be an element that's left out that needs to be a part of the whole, that needs to heal and needs to be repaired and restored and acknowledged, so that they can build a healthy relationship, because it doesn't sound like they ever had one, just based on what happened so long ago.
No, it's not healthy. Again, the father has just been, in this situation, has just accepted the dysfunction. That's what he's accepted it. And he's like, he feels there's no hope. Ain't no use to me coming, because they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And again, all that leads is to a child that is going to, hopefully, I hope that she realizes not to be a part of the dysfunction, and to realize that this is the wrong thing to do. Not live a life of me screaming at you or me hitting you. Is this all life is? They have no idea. They
Yeah.
have no earthly idea that this is destroying that child's life.
Right.
He feels as though he's not being protective of her at all. You know, and being married 37 years, she feels that even when she saw them on the floor, he should have done something. He shouldn't just walked away, looked and walk away. So
Yeah.
I guess he's heard about a lot of these.
Yeah.
And it didn't just start, but like you said,
No.
when and who knows? It the counselor, I was taught in psychology that you don't go to the psychiatrist. You always ask for his or her psychiatrist. Because all of them have their own, and especially if you know that you're not getting any help and you're constantly going to counseling, taking the time off work and everything to help your daughter, and then all no avail after all this time. So it's been going on like I guess you said 2 days of peace from her, 2 days, 2 or 3 days of peace from her. And she's not really, she's worried about her 5-year-old granddaughter. That's what's killing her. That's what's really hurting her.
Yeah, well, you know,
she's afraid for the business.
That granddaughter has seen it all, seen things that a 5-year-old should not see. So, Dr. Debbie, before we take the last break, can you give, for those who know they need help and are willing to reach out, can you give them your contact information if they're listening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can reach me by Soulful Solutions is on the ticker. That's Soulful, SOULFUL, SOLUTIONS 77 at gmail.com. Or you can also call me 678-634-4178. Again, 678-634-4178. And Lois, I definitely want to text Naima. Do you have her information? I want to follow up on that. Is that okay with you, Lois? Is it all right for me to contact you?
At gmail.com. LoisTrash23@gmail.com.
Okay, we'll make sure that we give Dr. Debbie a chance to follow up.
23@gmail.com. Yes, and that would be very, very helpful. Could you repeat that again, please? That website.
The contact information.
Soulful. It's Soulful Solutions.
Yeah, SOUL. Yeah. Soulful Solutions 7 at gmail.com. Right. And Lois, I'll make sure I text you that as well, so you have the contact information. And for those who are listening and not watching, you can it's going across the screen. You can go to Facebook or YouTube and type in Soulful Solutions and see Dr. Debbie and all of her contact information. So thank you, Lois, for sharing that. We certainly know there are probably other families that have similar issues that got some help today. We're going to take one last break and we'll be right back. So stay with us.
What happens when a group of people are kidnapped from their homes, smuggled away in chains, and held captive in a foreign land where they are tortured, raped, and forced to perform hard labor by the lash of a whip and under the constant threat of death? Slavery, the African American psychic trauma. What happened to the doctors, writers, scientists, builders, educators, and spiritual leaders from Africa's golden age? Who did they really capture and sell into slavery? Are all African Americans suffering from psychic trauma because of a conspiracy to hide their true identities? Do you have psychic trauma? Take the test on page 22 of the book and see. Order it online today at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. And get your personally autographed copy of the book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Bianca, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing. Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Delta Speak for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit DeltaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Delta Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Delta Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
All right. We're at the top of our hour. Oh my goodness. It's almost that time. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green, and with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. I just want to let you know I love this show.
Yes.
Not just Thursday show. I just love this whole shebang. Okay.
Wow.
Monday through Sunday, our wonderful talk show hosts, they're so talented. And again, this topic is a very delicate topic as you were listening, for those who are listening on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Family conflict is real, y'all.
Yeah.
Somewhere in your family, everyone has some type of conflict. It's just, it might be the mildest to the most severe. We just heard a severe one. That's so sad.
Yes. Yes.
That's the severe one when, a mother has to feel that she has to choke her daughter, you know what I'm saying, to prove a point.
And you never know what, because it sounds like the daughter's got a lot of repressed anger, and you never know
definitely.
what said, the disrespect. Respect is something that comes from within. You can't beat respect into a person if they are angry with you and they express that anger. And you can make them not say anything, but there is a point where it's going to come out. If it doesn't come out at you, it's going to come out at someone else. And that's what we're seeing, is people's anger coming out. And sometimes it comes out at total strangers. Like these mass shootings and everything else. This behavior comes from somewhere. It comes from something inside the person.
Mm-hmm.
And when they can't hold it in anymore, it comes out in a most destructive way. You think of a volcano, where it rumbles and rumbles under the surface, and maybe nobody pays any attention. They walk past like it's not happening. Oh, it's a little rumbling there. But then when it blows, and lava shoots out everywhere and makes a mess of everything. Well, the rumbling was there. It was under the surface, but the pressure was too much and it couldn't be contained, and it exploded. And this is what a lot of people are. They are walking volcanoes. So not letting children express anger is not a good idea. And a lot of times that's been the culture that we have, enforced. Things happen to children. We don't let them talk about it. We don't let them express their anger, their frustration, their fear. And so they don't heal. They just fester like a sore, like a wound. It just becomes infected, and then they become toxic because the problem was never addressed when it happened, and they weren't allowed to expose it and have it rectified. One thing that I thought about also, culturally, when it's generally decided that it's okay for certain members of society to be mistreated, whether it's our children or even a certain gender. Because we had Jana had on her Saturday show this woman from Nigeria, and culturally, I mean, it was even a matter of law. you can beat your wife, but you're not supposed to leave any marks on her face. Some outrageous thing. And so culturally, that was widely accepted as a thing that you can do. And so she, of course, founded a domestic violence organization because she had been abused. Her father had had set her up with some guy he wanted her to marry. So, and he was much older than her. So her father ended up making her marry some older guy because he had money. And then, of course, the guy ended up beating her. And so, long story short, she founded an organization against domestic violence. But she had a lot of women that first were attacking her for coming out about her being beaten. Like, you're supposed to shut that hidden. That's personal family business. No, because when you die, then it's everybody's business. So we need to change any cultural attitudes or behaviors that makes it okay to abuse someone, whether they're a spouse, a child, a parent. It is never acceptable to cause physical pain on anybody. And that's a standard that we have to raise in the human family so that we don't have these explosive situations, because you can't make somebody take abuse. Eventually, it's going to come back on somebody. And that's what we're seeing in all of these insane acts of violence. What did we handle in that person's childhood?
Exactly. And again, abuse doesn't have to be physical. It could be emotional abuse. It could be mental abuse. If someone calls you out your name or belittles you in any type of way, is a domestic violence.
Yes.
We get so comfortable if somebody calls, excuse my French, a bitch. We get a lot of people, they comfortable with that word. I've seen females call each other that. And I'm like,
that word has energy. It has some negative
yes,
energy.
It does. Somebody, you ain't never been worth nothing. I'm tired of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sick and tired of you. You always this and you always that. And if you live around a victim, you need to ask yourself, and either you're going to ask that person, why do you feel victimized? By my actions. Am I saying something to make you feel victimized? And the question is, why are you feeling that I'm victimizing you?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Just don't assume. They say, most people respond to all this. I ain't did nothing to you. What are you talking about? You always this and you always that. Because guess what? They respond with a mindset.
Yes.
So that's the questions. You know what I'm saying? Why do you feel this way? Do you feel attacked? What am I doing, or what do you think I'm doing to make you feel uncomfortable? Just don't go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because all you're doing is feeding the fire. That's what you're feeding. You're not exterminating anything. Again, two inflamed areas cause combustion.
Yes.
Right? So people do this and they get so comfortable with this lifestyle. They get caught, well, I've been like this again. Okay, we just heard a family 37 years. The young lady's 25 years old. Do you think this just happened? No, I guarantee you this has been going on for years.
Yes.
That is the reason why the father just like, let me just ignore this because I'm used to this.
Yeah, this is how they've been relating.
All right. We don't know what his part is majorly played in it, but we know one thing. He ain't doing nothing about it anymore. He might have tried. He might have tried it, and then he just gave up. People give up when people start to argue, and they argue. Then it looks like it's normal. It's normal. It looks normal. Oh, that's just the way they are. Oh, they'll be all right. They're just arguing. That's all they do. Until one day, again, somebody picks up a gun or a knife, and then it changes its course.
Yes.
But you can't say you wasn't warned, huh?
That's right. Yes. Warning comes before destruction.
Exactly. I just want to throw some wisdom out there because I know we're coming to the end of this show. If you don't know your creator, okay, whether you have experienced a higher power or a source or whatever you want to you see what I'm saying? So conflicts that you may be going through, there's something greater than you that has an answer. We don't always have the answers within ourselves because we're dealing with self. You see what I'm saying? Most people don't look at the man in the mirror, and they definitely don't ask him to change his ways. And I think Michael Jackson had something like that. Michael Jackson said, I'm looking at the man real. I'm asking him to change his way. One thing will make a difference, make a world change, right? But then guess what? Make a self change. How about that?
Yes.
If you can't change the world,
right.
Make a self change. Ask yourself why my actions are not lining up with what my desires to live is. You see what I'm saying? If you're angry, ask yourself why you're angry. If you feel guilty, ask yourself why you feel guilty. You know what I'm saying? If you're going through shame, remorse, resentment, hurt, ask yourself why. And don't use an outside resource to give yourself an answer.
Right.
Let's get that out of the way.
Right.
Look deep down inside yourself and say, okay, why am I hurting? Why am I still broken? Why do I feel I've been impacted by life over and over again? You know, say, why am I still fragmented? Why am I living this life that's causing me to feel that I'm all alone and nobody cares or loves me? That then I have to lose my cool to express myself. Well, here's a little tip Dr. Deb gonna give you. If you don't understand self-compassion, you'll never understand self-love. If you don't understand self-compassion and self-love, you'll never understand self-discipline. All those things go together to keep you where you are, which is grounded, standing on your feet. So if you don't know God, you better get to know him, because right now we're in perilous times. And these perilous times are actually causing us to lose our cool. You know, we got a few people that's so hot-headed they don't know whether they're coming or going, right?
Right.
So identify yourself, identify what's going on inside of you. You ask yourself, say, self, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay with the matters that you hear? Are you okay with the responses that you're getting from everyone else? And if you find yourself not being okay with it, all right, then you look at that situation, you ask yourself, is that healthy? If it's screaming and yelling, if it's tearing you down, then it's not healthy.
Not healthy.
It's not healthy. No, it's not. If you've been in for 30, 40, 50 years, I don't care how long you've been in it, do something about it.
Yes, love does not hurt.
Before it continues to fragmentate you till you are in particles and cannot put yourself back together again. You talk about Humpty Dumpty. No, Humpty Dumpty didn't fall off the wall. Humpty Dumpty had the great fall first. Understand the process. If you have fallen, then you need to put yourself back into a standing position so you can see yourself and acknowledge yourself as being what God has created you to be.
Absolutely.
He's created you to be. It's a pillar of just self-love, self-discipline, self-aware that you need to self-monitor you. If you don't self-monitor you, ain't nobody gonna come and fix you. It's not in a pill nor an injection, not even in a therapeutic process, not even a psychiatrist. It's not in your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your dog, nor your cat. It is in a place called peace, something that is wrapped up in a bowl that most people don't open every day, and it's called the present. You stand in your moment, you stand in your second, and you ask yourself, am I worthy of my peace today? Am I worthy of it?
Worthy. Yes. We got a caller. You got a caller. We can give him about 30 seconds before we wrap. 773-450. Your mic is open.
Yes, take it.
All right.
Take it.
Good morning, grand rising, and hallelujah, greetings to all. You know, it's interesting, it's a perfect subject, but you know, as children coming up in society, we got too much division and too much negativity. As a child, if you're doing well, you got people looking at you like who you think you are, and they pulling pranks on you and making you feel horrible. When you're a man, you got old men telling young guys, hey, if you want to control it, just pop her in her face when she say the wrong thing. That is not the answer. But that is the way a society that's driven in foolishness will be. That's just like men have a responsibility. When they see these women walking the streets and trying to throw good stuff at them, you're supposed to tell that young woman, don't do that. You're worth more than that. Don't exploit them just because they don't know no better. But look at our society. young girls being taught. I can make me a lot of money lap dance. Real. And strict. Real. Is that really a good lifestyle, even though you'll make money? But you see how society does that. We really do, Dr. Debbie, have to start with ourselves and reprogram everything. Because we are totally, this society is just totally messed up. Everything's negative. That's why so many family members fight each other and hate on each other. They misplace what's supposed to be love as a gift, and they make it a possessive thing. I own you. Since when? I thought you belonged to the Creator. I thought we were just sharing space and trying to grow, because two is better than one.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, you have to change it yourself. Start with yourself and redirect everything. And then start changing other people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for those words.
Seconds.
Yes. So we got 9
those words.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for those words. And for those who have conflict in their family, you need to tell them one thing. I love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. Every time they want to argue, I love you, ain't nothing you can do about it. Every time they want to scream, I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. You can scream it to the rafters. Guess what? I'm going to lose love as my salve. I'm going to use it as my balm of Gilead. I'm going to use it as not my weapon against your hate, your anger, your disgust, your irritation, your frustration. Because when you use love, it overcomes a multitude of sin. Be encouraged today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in your life. Again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, Facebook watchers, thank you so much. Shout outs to Vignetta, Bayetta. Shout outs to you, Carla. Thank you so much, Tasha, for tuning in. And for those who are listening on Blog Talk, God bless you real good. And of course, Naima, much love, baby. Much love.
Back at you. We'll see you next time.
Thank y'all. God bless you. God bless you.
10 seconds.
And join us tomorrow for Health and Wellbeing with Viata. Go to
Viata.
Soul Purpose Healing on Facebook, YouTube.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can
Thank
also
you,
hear
Lois, for
today's
that
show
suggestion.
on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to
For those who, Viata says children have too many gadgets and not enough nature and discipline. They're learning consequences the hard way, all in divine order. Yes. Need more love, less gadgets. I agree to that. Awesome wisdom, sisters. The world needs this truth. Thank us. Viata.
Be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution.
Yes, we certainly do appreciate all who have joined us.
All right.
And Viata says, yes, live love. Yes.